Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. You've stumbled upon the Backlog, where we're checking out the video games that we missed the first time around on the live show so that no game is left behind. Come and join me and see the video games that were released at some time in 1975.
The Dole banana.
Come on, get him, get him, get him. Yeah, you got him now. Get him. Hey, look at this. A banana.
The Dole banana.
A banana? A banana.
The Dole banana. As a snack, it's a natural.
I love it.
And we were last checking out the Telespiel ES2201 in Germany, Netherlands, Finland, wherever you had this first console. Let's see what the next video game is, because now I have no idea when these video games were released. These are all the video games that we can't find the definite release date for at some time in 1975. Our next video game is Chase. Just Chase. Has an interesting story behind it. Take a look at this. This is the 155th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 116th released in the arcade. This is the very first time and first game we've seen by RCA Corporation. In 1975, RCA developed an arcade machine project called Fredatronic. RCA Video Coin arcade console cabinets were notable for being among the first to utilize microprocessors and featured interchangeable games. You're looking at them right now. These are the examples of those cabinets. One of the 5 games developed for this arcade system was Chase, or Chase 2. The others included Mines, Computer Bowling, Swords, and Scramble Split Seconds. Unfortunately, the arcade machines didn't receive a positive reception during their test market phase, leading RCA to abandon the project. This game, Chase, is an arcade game, like the other ones we've seen before, but it's special because it's a microprocessor game. It's also notable as being one of the first games that doesn't have a commercial release. Most of the video games we showcase on Chronologically Gaming have commercial releases. You know, a company sends them out, and then they're released for the public. This one only had a test market release and then was pulled. So I technically am going to call this an unreleased game, or not a commercially released game. But for the most part, we do check out only commercially released video games. Sometimes we play a type-in game here and there from a magazine or a prototype barely, but most of the time it's only commercial release games. I'm doing you a favor because this one is kind of special. That's why I wanted to show this one off. So there's the example of the arcade cabinets, along with another game we're going to be seeing pretty soon. But you can see there's Mines and there's Swords, and you can see the arcade cabinets are very, very basic. It reminds me of early 1975 design, like something that was the prototype or example of Galaxy game. And they have the joysticks for one of the cabinets, and they have buttons for one of the other ones. And then this is all the information I have for this game, but I do have some gameplay footage. This is Chase. It is a game where both players control a ship. It's meant to be a ship or a boat, and you have to try to chase each other over the screen. The game is won when one ship touches the other. Ships can move in 8 different directions. This one allows you to play against the computer, though. So remember, one of the earliest microprocessor video games. This one is not using discrete logic or transistor-to-transistor logic like we've seen with some of the other ones. It allows you to play single player against the computer. But it's that age-old, it's a classic tag chase video game. It's the 6th time we've seen a tag or chase video game so far. It's the 10th video game that uses buttons only to control. You're just pushing the buttons to move your boat all around the screen. And it is using relative control scheme, which means relative to the boat's position is where you're going to turn and maneuver around or run after if you're being chased by the other boat. This marks the 119th video game released in North America that we've seen so far. So there you go, a quick taste and example of Chase, but that's not all. This one we don't have a simulator for. There is some simulators they've made online that you can pick up from GitHub, but I did not download those because I just wanted to just have a quick showcase of this arcade console that was pulled from the market by RCA. All right, the next one is Coin Bowling. Let's check out Coin Bowling. Another one that I just have some gameplay footage for, so you can see what it's like or what coin bowling is all about. This is also known as the computer bowling whatever you want to call it. It's the 156th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 117th game released in the arcades or shown in the arcades if you're there for the test market. Second time we've seen RCA Corporation. This one I can confirm was done by Joseph Weisbecker. He's going to end up going to do what RCA is known for and what we've already seen on Chronologically Gaming, the RCA Studio 2. Bowling is simple bowling game. It's for 2 players and it's a predecessor to the later RCA Studio 2 bowling game. Pins are displayed on one side of the screen and a ball moves up and down on the other side. The player must press a button at the right time to let it roll towards the pins, either straight or in a curve based on the buttons pressed. The game keeps score and adds some randomization in resolving the impact. Each pin is worth 1 point, or 15 for a spare, or 25 points for a strike. So they're not even doing the real bowling score. Hot seat multiplayer competitive only. This one you have to take turns with a friend. It's the 10th time we've seen a video game with this multiplayer control scheme. But this right here is the very first bowling video game we've ever seen on Chronologically Gaming. This style of bowling game where all you have to do is push one button is going to be known for lots of games later. This is the very first time we've ever seen any bowling game and anything like this. This is the 4th timed input video game we've seen so far after Drop Zone, Touch Me, and Phantomjagd on the Philips Telespiel. It's the 4th time we've seen a video game that only requires one button. You just have to push the one button at the right time. It's a turn-based game that you'll take turns like it's a bowling game. It's the 11th game that is controlled with just buttons, and the 120th game from North America, or originating from North America. Coin bowling is interesting because it shows actually how impressive the RCA Studio 2 is going to be whenever it comes home compared to what you could play in the arcades. But again, this didn't fare very well in the test market, so maybe it's a failure, and so this really isn't as impressive, but only time will tell. All right, let's see what our next one is. The next game is Mines. Again, test marketed by RCA Corporation in the arcades. This is another one that I really don't have a lot of information for. Here you go. Mines. Here's some gameplay footage to kind of give you an idea of what Mines is like. This is the 157th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming, the 118th we've seen in the arcades, and the 3rd game by RCA Corporation. Mines can be played against the computer or another player, just like we saw with Chase. Each player controls a ship and can move in 8 directions across the screen. Moving over the edge of the screen makes the ship end up at the other side, so it wraps around like we saw with the classic Atari games. When you press a button on the joystick, it makes the ship drop a mine. The goal is to make the other ship run into a mine or your ship. When you hold the button down, though, it drops multiple mines. So it is a multiplayer competitive game, and you can play single player. But everyone look at this. What does this look like to you? I'm sure most people think it looks just like Chase that we saw before, and you just add some pixels for the mines. Well, I see something else here. I see the very beginning of a light cycle video game. So while you are moving around and have to dodge the mines, when you hold that button down and it makes the trail of dots, that's really similar to what we're going to see later with the Tron light cycle style of games. And before Tron popularized the verbiage for a light cycle game, we're going to see other games that are like this, where something is being dropped or fallen behind. And this is one of the very first times we've seen this. This is controlled with the digital joystick, the 26th video game that's using a digital joystick so far. And it's, again, absolute direct control, the 39th time we've seen a video game that's controlled this way. And it's the 3rd time we've seen a video game where you're in a boat. Or they tell us we're in a boat. I guess you got to use your imagination. This is the 121st game we've seen originating from North America. And another video game we cannot play or rate ourselves, so we got to give that one a no rating. And after that, we have another special one. The very next release is Swords, and I have heard about this game, and I've been so excited to show this on Chronologically Gaming. Let's check out Swords. So I do have images that we saw previously. This is kind of a bad snapshot of the arcade cabinet, but it is showing Swords at the top of the screen. And then this one is available that you can have as a simulator, but I didn't want to download because it's a little clunky to use. I just wanted to show some gameplay footage to give you an idea of what this is. It's pretty cool. And there's the picture we saw before with Swords on the left side. This is our 158th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 119th in the arcade. The 4th time we've seen RCA Corporation, and this one was done by Joseph Weisbecker. And there you go, an example of the screenshot as well. I love this. Check that out. Swords is a simple sword dueling game. The player controls one of the two characters on the screen and can step forward, back, up, and down, as well as point the sword up, forward, or down in an attempt to hit the other character for points. It's possible to play against a frantically moving computer player. Released in a very limited run as the arcade game and the first game that later became available on the Cosmac VIP under the name Sword Fighter. Now, this game is the very first 2D fighting game. So when I was looking up the first fighting video game or one-on-one fighter, when this game came up, I couldn't believe this existed. So this is the very first time this is a game that's even attempting or trying this. And you could argue that it's not real because it was pulled from test market, so it wasn't commercially released. But I still wanted to show it because it's very impressive and very interesting to see this so early, right here in 1975. All these video games, I have no idea when they were released. I'm sure you can find some documentation and send it my way to let me know when the RCA test market occurred, but I'm just going to say it was sometime in 1975. This one does allow you to play single player. It has a computer sword fighter you can play against. The computer, though, is crazy. It's just swinging its sword all over the place, and it's just frantic and nuts. It's a lot more fun to play with someone else. This one is controlled only with buttons. So this is the 12th video game where only buttons is the way to control it. It's the 40th game with absolute direct control, depending on where your character's facing and how you use the control is determined by the actual character on screen. This is the 120th game from North America. Keep going, USA and North America. So there you go. This is Swords, another one that we didn't play ourselves, so I'm going to have to give it a no rating, but really cool that this one exists. That's Swords. And now, let's continue seeing the rest of the video games that were released at some time in 1975. Our next game is F-114. Let's check it out together, starting with the advertisement flyer. This is the 159th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 120th game in the arcade. I love being in the arcade. This one is by Allied Leisure Industries, the 11th time we've seen this company doing games like Robot, Football, Street Burners, Ski, and Firepower. This is the first time we've seen the developer Ronald D. Halliburton. Way to go, Ronald. And this right here is, this company, I would say, is a great contender against Atari. So if you just cut off time and said right now in 1975, what are the biggest video game companies that are out there? Atari, yes, I would still say is right on top, but Allied Leisure Industries, I would say they come pretty close to Atari. You know, if we didn't know the rest of the future, they're pretty impressive. I don't have a lot of information on this game. This is the advertisement flyer. You got to see it to believe it, and we will see it to believe it. This is a chair that is moving. It is a swivel chair that's controlled with the joystick. So as you move the joystick around, it's moving the chair at the same time. Once again, Allied Leisure was the one that brought a ski where you're actually pretending to simulate using skis. This game's doing the same thing. So cool. There's the example of the arcade cabinet, a little bit zoomed in. The control panel that you see there is just for look. So there's all those buttons aren't functioning. It just makes it look like you're in a command seat or a command module doing everything on the screen. But look at the size of the screen. It is a wide screen view, a huge, like a projection screen that's being viewed in the background. But I got to show you what this is like. Check this out. Here you go. I got some video game footage that I found online. I'll include links down below if you're wanting more information. F-14 places the player in the cockpit of a jet fighter with the goal of shooting enemy aircraft out of the sky. The airplanes are projected on a screen using a projector, but do individually explode when shot down. A joystick is used to aim a crosshair on the screen, and the joystick also swivels the chair the player sits on. This game is single player only. There is no multiplayer modes whatsoever. This is the very first video game we've seen that would be constituted as a rail shooter or on-rails shooter, because all that's happening is a video is being projected with the background, and you're just moving the crosshair around to shoot the objects. The video backdrop or the film projection Injection, we've already seen before. This is the third game so far after Laser Clay Shooting System and Wild Gunman by Nintendo. It's yet again another video game, though, that's not using a classic arcade gameplay loop. This one has a time constraint. How many enemies can you shoot within the time limit? It's the 21st video game using a time limit. It's the 27th video game with digital joystick control, but the very first to ever attach to a swivel chair. And I love this because it's starting to show the arcade experience, or a gameplay experience only found in the arcades. Another example would be Highway that Atari did, where you're sitting down pretending you're driving the car. This kind of goes in line with that. But this one's totally new, totally different. It's also the very first video game where you're controlling a crosshair or a cursor on the screen. There was another one that we played or saw that was really close to this. It was Pursuit by Atari, but Pursuit, the entire screen was moving because it was meant to be a simulation of flying a plane. This one, not so much. You can see what they're going for. It's just a screen in the background that's playing while you're just moving a crosshair around. You're not actually controlling the plane. It's giving you the feeling of motion because the chair is swiveling, but you're actually not moving where the plane's going. It's the fourth video game we've ever seen that's constituted as a point and select style game, after Analogic, Simon Says, and States that we saw on the Magnavox Odyssey. It's the eighth video game from a first-person perspective, but the very first video game we've ever seen that's widescreen. And I'm talking, look at that. That's like a curved display, which is kind of cool, even though it's not, a monitor or anything. It's the 10th video game using a war theme, and the 6th video game where you're flying a plane or involving flight or aviation. This one does use transistor to transistor logic or discrete logic, so it's the 150th game that has no microprocessor, and the 123rd game released first in North America. F-14 rocks. Right now, I would love to play this one. Now, in hindsight, we look back at this and just see it as the crosshair moving around, and we're thinking of the cheap games that are going to come out for the CD-based systems in the 90s and stuff. But no, right now, this is awesome. But we can't play it ourselves, so I got to give this one a no rating. A whole lot of showcasing going on. Let's see what's next. That was released at some time in 1975. Our next game is Shark. Yes, another Shark game. Can you believe that? 1975? Here's the advertisement flyer for Shark. Oh, there we go. You're the Shark. 3 different games, novice, intermediate, and expert, and we have 1, 2, 3, or 4 players with thrilling, competitive action. This is our 160th game on Chronologically Gaming, and the 121st released in the arcade. This was by US Billiards, the second time we've seen this company after TV Tennis. Now, in Shark, the player is the shark. The game can be played with up to 4 players. Swimmers at the top of the screen try to reach the shoreline, and it's up to the players to eat them. The sharks are in a maze with traps that can move in 4 directions. The first player to eat 5 swimmers wins the game. In single-player mode, no swimmer may reach the shore, and extended play is earned with eating the 5 swimmers. So you're allowed to play one player, and eat all the 5 swimmers if you want to, but it's fun to play competitively, and you can see it's 4-player. They got 4 buttons that you can use on the arcade cabinet. Now, it's possible that we could call the release date for this because in October 17th through the 19th, they did the Music Operators of America show. It was held in Chicago, Illinois, where they were displaying some of the first video games with microprocessors. Shark was in that show. So while it wasn't commercially released then, it was more like the showcase. I don't know when exactly between October and the end of the year this was actually released to the public, so I'm still going to say it was released at some time in 1975. But US Billiards is still kicking. This one is the 43rd game we've seen that you can have a max of 4 players playing the game. Indy 800 had 8 players, Steeplechase had 6 players, and then we bring up EVR Race by Nintendo because it had 10 players, but I don't think that counts as real multiplayer since it was just a betting game. So we also have this advertisement flyer. You're at the beach, get the arcade cabinet. It's pretty much the same, but yeah, it's really cashing in on Jaws. This one is relates to so many games we've seen. It's the 3rd time we've seen a video game involving sharks and inspired by movies like Jaws, and its setting is underwater, like Shark Jaws and Man-Eater. So in 1975, that's how big Jaws was. Video games aren't really that big, but there's already 3 video games that are based on Jaws. Amazing. You flip over the advertisement flyer, and it shows you how it's played over on this side. You have the position switch to go between novice, intermediate, and expert, so you get difficulty modes, which is kind of nice, and then explains how it's built on the right side. And it has 2 different cabinets, the upright and the cocktail. It's already 1975, and they're already establishing how to make arcade video game cabinets between cocktail and upright. So cool. And it looks great. There's the cocktail version of the cabinet. The buttons on this, they look so tiny whenever you think of your hands wanting to play it, but you got to make room for all those cocktail drinks. You don't want to make the people get rid of those, right? There you go. That's a better one. You get an example of the screenshot of Shark with this advertisement, with this arcade cabinet. This one marks the 6th time we played a video game that's an arcade maze game, after Cat and Mouse, Gotcha, Tank and Tank 2, and PT 109. This one is very impressive. It's a microprocessor video game when most of the video games are still using discrete logic. It's also another fan game because it's based on Jaws, but not officially Jaws. I mean, calling it Shark, it's pretty simple. I love it when video games this early just have one name, very simple. Yeah, it's great. What you're seeing on the screen, by the way, this screenshot looks blue, but the game is not programmed with any color. It has an overlay, which this is the 49th video game we've seen that is an overlay over the top, and the 22nd we've seen in the arcade so far. It's the 13th video game that's controlled with only buttons, and it does have absolute control. That means when you move up, your shark moves up. When you move down, your shark moves down. It's the 41st game we've seen that does that, and it's the 125th game from North America. There you can see the control panel, really simple. And again, even this control panel example has really tiny buttons for all the 4 directions you need to go. With the arcade marquee, and there's the example of a zoomed in screenshot. This is what I mean by the arcade maze game. You start in the maze down below, and it has a kind of reminiscent of Gotcha that we played, the tag game. But I don't have a way to play this. I don't even have footage that I could find of someone else playing Shark. It's even more rare than Maneater. So if you can find any video footage, let me know. In the meantime, we got to give this one a no rating and then imagine what it would be like to play some Shark. All right, after that, let's see what's next. Our next video game is Super UBI Cocktail Table. We're getting rarer and rarer as we see the video games released at some time in 1975. This is our 161st video game on Chronologically Gaming and the 122nd released in the arcade. This is the first time we've seen anything by UBI. Super UBI Cocktail Table is a Pong variant for 1, 2, or 4 players. Players control paddles with a joystick to bounce a ball across the screen. Points are scored when the ball hits the other side of the screen. Whoop-de-doo! We've seen that one quite a bit. And this one explains a little bit how it works, but what is going on with the cocktail? What are those cocktail drinks, or is that part of the control? Oh, I see. The joystick's down below. Look, it's not controlled with paddles. There's a digital joystick under the table, and I guess they're just putting cocktail drinks on there in their advertisement. Sure, that's what they're for, right? This picture that you're looking at is all I have for the information I could find on this video game. This is the 44th game with 4 players that could play at the same time. It is multiplayer competitive. It's a multiplayer team game. The 33rd game we've seen so far, that's a team that offers team play, and it does allow you to play single player. This is the 85th ball and paddle video game and the 78th clone of Pong so far. That's a lot of Pong. This is the 28th game we've seen that's controlled with digital joysticks, and it is using an overlay. This one has color overlay, so it's the 50th video game with an overlay on the screen. The 23rd we've seen in the arcade thus far, and this one is another one that does not have a microprocessor, the 151st game that is using DTL or TTL logic. I'm kind of redundant to say logic after that. And then it is the 126th game released in North America first. And I got to give this one a no rating, and I'm okay not playing this one. Just more Pong, right? All right, let's see what our next game is. Coming up next is Survival, released at some time in 1975. Or maybe you tell me when it's released. Here's the advertisement flyer for Survival, our 162nd game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 123rd in the arcade. This one's the 3rd time we've seen US Billiards after TV Tennis and Shark. Survival is a Pong variant for 1 to 4 players. The game can be played against each other with 2 or 4 players or against the computer, 1 or 3 players. Each player has a paddle at one of the 4 sides of the screen and must protect their goal. When the ball enters the player's goal, that player loses a life until eliminated from the game. The last player to survive wins the game. The computer has no paddle, but his goal has bars in front of it, making it harder to score. It's a 4-player game, the 45th 4-player game we've seen so far. Indy 800 is 8-player, Steeplechase is 6-player. So this one is not original in play modes. It is the 86th ball and paddle style video game we've seen so far, and the 79th variant of Pong. This one is that description I gave you, I could have described that for 7 other games. This is the 7th game that has a last man standing mechanic after elimination or quadrupong, leader, player's choice, wipeout, and knockout. And this one is interesting that they're using a digital joystick rather than paddles. Look down below under the cabinet. So you have to reach down and wiggle around that joystick under the table. Maybe that works well in bars. I would think paddles would work better than joysticks. And there's another example of an advertisement flyer, and if you flip this over in the back, it explains a little bit more information about the game and then shows you the different styles of game. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can play by yourself. Poor guy sitting at a bar all by himself playing survival, all alone. But get more people around the table, and you can play 4 all at the same time. It's the 29th time we've seen a video game using a digital joystick, and the 152nd time we've seen a game that has no microprocessor. This one's the 127th game released in North America. We're just flying through the games. I can't rate this one, so we have to give it a no rating and press forward to see every video game. Our next game released at some time in 1975 is Take 5. Let's keep going. Here's the advertisement flyer for Take 5, the 163rd game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming and the 124th released in the arcade. This is the first time we've ever seen Fun Games. Fun Games was formed because some developers at Atari left and started Fun Games. Check out this advertisement flyer. It looks a lot like Atari, kind of similar to Atari. Down at the bottom, this one is the very first I would consider a compilation video game because each one of the games inside isn't like a game mode or a variation. You're actually switching and resetting the game and swapping it out. So every single one of the games, though, that's able to be played here was taken by ideas from Atari. So I can't confirm there was a lawsuit, but I've got to know. There has to be a lawsuit involved because there's so much that they took from Atari. Take 5 is a 5-in-1 arcade game. Each of the 5 games is a Pong variant based on Atari games. We have Wipeout, the single Wipeout. We have the multiplayer Wipeout. We have Match, which is 2 or 4-player Pong. Pro Match, which is 2-player Pong with multiple paddles. And Gravity Match, 2 or 4-player Pong with gravity. So this one is 4-player maximum players, the 46th time we've seen that, and it is allowing team play. The 34th time a video game is letting you play as a team. The very first compilation, though, of games we've ever seen, and it does offer variations in game mode. So the 9th time we've seen that after Sports Center, Video Action, Astro Hockey, Player's Choice, Model 474, Duel, Challenge, and Slam. But it's still just Pong. It's the 87th ball and paddle video game we've seen so far, and the 80th variant or clone of Pong, done by people that were at Atari. Which people? I wish I knew. The story of Fun Games Incorporated is really hard to come by. We're now in the realm of sometime in 1975, so it's getting more and more obscure for these style of games. But take a look at the back. You can see all the different game modes and what they look like. Look at the blocks that are on the screen. I don't think you're breaking them. It looks like you're going through it, but I don't have any game footage to confirm that. We're just basing it on what we see here on the advertisement flyers. This one is another last man standing game that offers this mechanic as part of it. The 8th time we've seen that after, knockout, wipeout, player's choice, and leader, and elimination and quadrupong. This one does use paddles. It's the 94th game we've seen controlled with paddles, and it is another video game with no microprocessor, the 153rd so far. And it is released first in North America, the 128th to do that. More Pong that we can't play, so we got to give it a no rating. All right, and then next, released at some time in 1975, was Take 7. Yes, Take 5, I wanted to just add some more games to it. Here's the advertisement flyer for Take 7, our 164th game we've seen, and the 125th release in the arcade. Second time we've seen Fun Games. Take 7 is a 7-in-1 arcade game. Each of the 7 games is based on a game released by or at the time in development by Atari. That's right. They took some of the games that are in development right now by Atari and released them early. On this one, we have Wipeout, the single player, the Wipeout 2 or 4-player version. We have Match, 2 or 4-player Pong. We have Pro Match, which is 2-player Pong with multiple paddles. We have Gravity Match, the 2 or 4-player Pong with gravity. We have Hockey, which is 2-player Pong. And then we have Bust Out. breakout variant based on the then unfinished game. Bust Out. This is another breakout kind of game before Breakout. And only because they took the idea when they left Atari. You flip over the advertisement flyer and it shows you all the games, and look at Bust Out. The Bust Out game really looks like the Apple II Breakout that we're going to be seeing later. Single player tries to break through. Yeah, so that means the Wipeout games, those blocks that we're seeing, you don't break those blocks. You just bounces in between them, kind of like a maze. But this is all I have for advertisements. This is it. This is the 47th 4-player video game we've seen. Indy 800 is 8-player, Steeplechase is 6-player, and Nintendo's EVR Race is 10-player, but I don't really want to count EVR Race. It's the 35th time we've seen a video game with team play, and it is the second video game that's a compilation of video games. The 10th video game that offers variations or modes after Sports Center, Video Action, Astro Hockey, Player's Choice, Challenge, and things like that. But it's still just Pong. This is the 81st Pong clone that we've seen so far, and the 88th, that's a ball and paddle video game. This one is Breakout, though. The third time we've seen a Breakout style game before Breakout. Clean Sweep kind of did it. TV Pinball was the only other one. It's the 9th time we've seen a video game that offers last man standing gameplay with games like Elimination and Quadra-Pong, and it's the 95th video game controlled with paddles. It still has no microprocessor, the 154th that we've seen so far, and the 129th game released in North America. Still can't play it, got to give it a no rating, and still see what's next in the world of video games. At some time in 1975 was the release of Tankers. Tankers is here. Let's check it out. Here's the example of the advertisement flyer. This is our 165th video game on Chronologically Gaming and the 126th released in the arcades. This is also by Fun Games, the third time we've seen them. Tankers is an unofficial copy of Atari's Tank and was created by the developers that left Atari to found Fun Games. 2 players control tanks on a top-down maze and must try to shoot each other while avoiding being shot or running over a mine. Tanks are controlled with 2 joysticks. Whoever has the most kills at the end of the time limit wins the match. Sound familiar? Because it's exactly like Tank. They totally ripped it off. This one is multiplayer competitive only. You have to have a friend to play, just like you did with the original Tank. It's the 7th arcade maze game we've seen so far and the 7th vehicular combat game after games like Tank, Tank 2, Crash and Score, Destruction Derby, and PT-109. This one is the second variant of Tank after PT-109. PT-109 was essentially Tank with boats, or meant to be boats on water. This is the 12th dual shooter that we've seen so far. You and a friend going against one another and shooting one-on-one. It's the 6th video game using dual joysticks with games like Tank and Tank 2, Robot, or Western Gun and Gunfight. This one is using relative control, the 16th time we've seen this control scheme, and this was involved in a legal dispute. The 13th video game we've seen involved with some law action or legal action. It's the 11th video game using the theme of war, the 4th video game where you're controlling a tank, and it is no microprocessor. The 155 games that are using DTL or TTL logic. Tankers is here. The back of this, look at the picture. They even showed a screenshot and it looks exactly like Tank. They even didn't try to do anything like Tank 2. It's the same maze. Combat ready. Tankers is ripping off Atari. And not like Key Games. Key Games really was Atari. This is not. There's another example of the arcade cabinet. And there we go, another one with Tankers. The 2 joysticks is the same control scheme, too, as Atari's Tank. The way they advertised this was pretty nice. You can see the arcade marquee at the top of the screen. Oh, man, Tankers. Love to play it myself, but we didn't really get a chance to play this one. We have an idea of what it would be like, but because we didn't simulate the actual Tankers, I'll give this one a no rating. All right, what's next? Give me more games. We're finishing out 1975. The next release is Triple Play at some time in 1975. This is our 166th game we've seen so far. Triple Play is getting even more rare. This is the 127th game released in the arcade. This is by Elcon Industries, the second time we've seen this company after TV Pinball. Triple Play is an arcade cabinet featuring 3 Pong variants: tennis, hockey, and soccer. All the games pit players in a game of Pong, bouncing a ball between the paddles. The hockey variant has goals that have to be hit instead of just the edge of the screen. Soccer features multiple paddles per player, kind of like foosball, maybe not, depending on what you think about it. This one is the 36th game involving team play. The 89th game, that's a ball and paddle game. The 82nd Pong clone. And this does involve hockey and soccer and tennis, but just by name only. We know it's all Pong. This is the 11th video game offering variations or game modes of, most of the time it's been Pong. And the 96th video game controlled with paddles. This one has no microprocessor. Our 156th game using discrete logic. And the 131st game released in North America. It shows you all the games down the bottom left, and you can barely tell what this is. What is this game called? Is it called Statistics? It's the advertisement is just, it's very difficult to come by. It's a unfolded advertisement flyer, so it's just showing you. You don't need a scorecard to know who the superstar is, and then what's the name of the game. You can barely see it. So some people refer to this as tennis, hockey, and soccer, or tennis, soccer, and hockey. Yeah, there's the lineup, and here we go. We get some real shots of people in the bar in 1975. Look at the white pants and clothes, and look at all the wood grain. Every single one of these is a cocktail cabinet, and everyone's got their cocktails. So cool. And there's one of the first advertisements I've ever seen by Elcon, where they're called Electronic Concepts Industries rather than Elcon Industries. And the only other game we saw was because we saw TV Pinball, and it was just published by Elcon. They kind of ripped off TV Pinball several times. So there you go. Another game that we can't rate ourselves. And another game to the ages. And now, what's our next video game? It's the very last video game that we're going to see from 1975. This is Video Amusement Game Table. This one is so rare and so hard to come by. Not only could I not find footage of the game, I don't even know for sure if this exists. This is so rare. It's in the realm of, is this like Polybius, where it may or may not have existed? But it is interesting. So I'm actually going to just leave it right here. This one is the 167th game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming. We're ending with a bang in 1975 with a very, very hard to find video game. The 120th game released in the arcades. This is by Cinematronics. This may very well be the first game by Cinematronics. It's the second time we've seen Cinematronics on Chronologically Gaming, only because they did Flipper Ball, which was their published version of TV Pinball. This game was done by Jim Pierce. Way to go, Jim. Or was involved with this game. Video Amusement Game Table is a cocktail table Pong variant. More Pong if you didn't have enough. Two players bounce a ball back and forth with their paddles. Points are scored when the player fails to bounce it back. It is multiplayer competitive only, like the classic Pong. You have to have someone else to play with. It's the 90th video game that's ball and paddle, and the 83rd variant or clone of Pong. We are ending 1975 seeing 83 Pong games. It's the 97th video game controlled with paddles. I was really hoping we get to 100 games that were controlled with paddles or little knobs. This is the 157th game that has no microprocessor, and the 132nd released in North America. That screenshot that you see, I provided the Flipper Ball advertisement flyer because I can't even find the artwork of this cabinet or advertisement flyer. So did this exist? Is it a myth? I'm not so sure. But I do have an example of a screenshot based on a blog that I found. So I will be including the links to the blog that you can read at your leisure if you want to find even more information on arcades at this time period. All right, so there you go. That is the last video game that we have covered on Chronologically Gaming, closing out 1975. There is no more games from 1975. If anyone finds new video games, we won't be coming back. This is our last time seeing video games from 1975. But there was some other notable video game releases that we didn't cover just because we don't cover everything on mainframe or terminal. Hammurabi from 1968 is brought to the Wang 2200 and Altair 8800 in 1975. Also, Lunar Lander, the text version, was ported to the Altair 8800. Life, the game of Life, was ported to the Altair 8800. Maze War, or for short, Maze, is a networked multiplayer first-person shooter game that was on mainframe that you could play right now in 1975. There's a game called Sea War that's available on mainframe, and it's a variant of Artillery. Wumpus 2 is available on mainframe. Deep Space is available on mainframe. And The Seminole, a very big release, D&D, or The Game of Dungeons, is a terminal access computer role-playing game originally hosted on the Plato network. That's available right now in 1975. The Dungeon, or Petit 5 on Terminal, is a game that's considered one of the very first multi-user dungeons, or MUDs. And that's available right now in 1975. Moria is available on Terminal. Orthanc is available to play on Terminal. Civil War, that was first seen in 1968, was ported to the Wang 2200. And we do have other dedicated consoles that are notable, like the Odyssey 100 and the Odyssey 200 that were out between when the first Magnavox Odyssey came out and then the one we're going to be seeing later. And another big event. A small company founded in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Bill Gates and Paul Allen, focusing on software for microprocessors, was here in 1975. Microsoft was founded in 1975. And there you go. Now we are completely done with all the games and all the video game releases from 1975. Next time on the Chronologically Gaming Backlog, we start 1976. The arcade is where it's at. We're going to do some stunts, fly some planes, and shoot from our submarine. That's it for today, and like I always say, we are slowly crawling out of the Stone Age of video game history. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.